and welcome to Pointed Logic Tarot. Today we're going to do a hashtag video that's old. It's from 2021, but I have a bunch of hashtags saved, and I may have said this in a previous video, that I loved watching on TarotTube, but didn't have a channel to participate yet, and also at the time I think I had one tarot deck, so I was watching a lot of the hashtags where you're like a mini collection or a set of prompts and a different deck for each one, so they weren't relevant for me to make a response to anyway. Now fast forward 3 years later, and I have quite a few decks and would love to respond to some of these older tags that I loved. Today's hashtag is Hearth and Home decks, made by the wonderful Dawn Michelle. So we'll just get right in. I think there's 8 prompts, yep. And you might think some of these are kind of on the nose with the prompt. So the first prompt is Hearth and Home, the deck that feels like coming home. For me, that is the Great Lakes Tarot. I'm from the Great Lakes region. I grew up in the state of Michigan and was quite close to, maybe 20 minutes away from Lake Erie, or not Lake Erie, from Lake Michigan. And now I live in a state connected to Lake Erie, but I'm nowhere near it. So I miss the Great Lakes a lot, and it's a very special, unique ecosystem and habitat, and the interconnectedness is very special. There's still an amazing range of lake-specific species and different ecotypes, I guess. Marshes, dunes, cliffs, bogs. Yeah. So I miss being close to the Great Lakes, and this deck makes me think of home because I still view myself as someone from Michigan even though I don't live there anymore. So let's take a look at it. It's really unique in its art style. Each suit has a color that goes from light to dark as the intensity of the suit increases. So like the 10 of Wands is one of the darkest pinks in the suit of Wands. And then the majors are different colors, but it's all like a monochromatic color and then black, white, and a color. The suits, the suit of cups are fish. The suit of wands are flowers, mostly I think prairie species. See, here's the ace of wands and the 10 of wands. And then all the colors in between are all of the other numbers. It's kind of neat. The suit of swords are animals. And then the suit of pentacles is sort of like, not necessarily infrastructure, but like how people relate to, it's like the presence of people and how they are, their relationship to the Great Lakes. So like, I don't know if this is a Mackinac Bridge or just a bridge, but it's a suspension bridge. People skiing. And then the majors are a variety of things that just make sense for the meaning of the card. So this is a few different things of balance here. There's the balance between the person and the kayak. There's the balance of the cliffs. This looks like pictured rocks. There's the balance in the waves. There's the balance of the trees on the cliffs. There's the balance between erosion and stability. The chariot, this is dandelions all being sent on their merry way. The star, I think this is a trout, but I can't say for sure if it's a bass. Going after an insect at moonlight. The moon is an echinacea plant amongst other prairie species or meadow habitat species. The tower is a sturgeon, and it is kind of like this, but the way that this means a lot is that the sturgeon is an ancient species of fish that's sort of a holdover from older times and has a tenuous relationship with survival because of the delicate balance of the ecosystems and the threat that humans cause to that and how they could come toppling down. The double is plastic pollution and other pollution in the lakes. And the world, I think this is Kirtland's warbler, maybe. This is a swift, but this is a fire-dependent species. And it's just a deck that many might not feel is intuitive, but because of the connection I have to the region and my experience with biology and biodiversity, these cards are really meaningful to me. Okay, sorry, I feel like I droned on and on for this one, but I knew that this one would need the longest explanation or description of why it is a deck that feels like home or coming home. Okay, prompt 2, a deck that reminds you of family and friends. And for that one, I chose the Magic Pantry Tarot. This is by Cedar McLeod. It's an indie deck. Both of them are indie decks thus far. The last one was by David Wilson. You can buy it on Rust Belt Publishing, or I think it's just Belt Publishing. Okay, Magic Pantry Tarot. This is a food deck. So it reminds me of family and friends because we usually get together around food. I love to cook, and I got that from my mom, who loves to cook. My dad loves to cook. At least one of my siblings loves to cook. I think at least 2 of my siblings, maybe all 3 of them. And when we get together, it's just a big fun food extravaganza with all sorts of experimenting and trying different cuisines. And there's something about tastes and smells that are nostalgic and remind you of past memories or experiences. So this food feels like friends and family. I also love the people in this deck. They're just beautiful. I want to be friends with all of them. And so that's what also, with the friends and family aspect, it makes me think of my friends. Yeah. Magic Pantry Tarot. See, that one went way faster. Okay, the third one, Light Up Your Life. The deck that lights your way through the darkness. This is an on-the-nose one. It's the Lighted Window Tarot. This is also an indie deck. by Lantern Print Company. I think it's available on their website. I got it on a Kickstarter. Before I even like reviewed the prompts for this tag, I was like, I know the Lighted Window Tarot is gonna go in these Hearth and Home decks. It's just so darn cozy. It's got a muted earth tone color palette. The way that lights are drawn, just there's a glow even from the candles. It's a Pips with Feelings deck, or Pip-ish deck. This little guidebook is really nice. It has numerology, and I think it's a great introduction to Pips. The moon and the sun are in a ton of the cards, and they look really cool. Yeah, like, so this is strength. This doesn't feel like a typical strength card, does it? But it makes sense. I'll read the entry of this just so you can get an idea of the guidebook. There is strength in vulnerability and in compassion, especially for oneself. The strength card is to find the courage to have grace for yourself while forging ahead, to be brave in the face of stress. True strength is the ability to hold onto your peace without anything or anyone taking it from you. And then it talks about the themes and symbols. The castle symbolizes protection, defenses, and inner strength. The sword represents authority, strength, and courage. And I would argue also like an outer representation of strength with the castle's an inner. And the Castellaria plant, which is also the coastal paintbrush flower, represents energy and determination. So yeah, small but mighty book. And then let's find the Hermit card in here. Here it is. So we've got so many sources of light in this card. We've got the stars at either dawn or dusk. And then we also have the sun. And then we have the Hermit's lantern. It's a lovely deck. Very cozy. Prompt number 4. A deck to curl up with on a rainy day. This one is not as typical, or like might be a little out of the box to some folks. That is the Star Trek Tarot by Telekiad. This is the Star Trek Original Series deck. This indie creator is making a huge series of decks. I'm like blown away by their plans, especially because each card is a painting. I have the current 2 decks they have out, which are the original series deck and then a Majors Only animated series deck. This one feels like a deck I want to use on a rainy day, because when it's rainy and cold and dark and dreary, or I'm sick, even if the weather's nice and I'm just like home in bed on the couch or wrapped up in a blanket somewhere, I want my Star Trek Tarot. Especially the silly, like, campy goodness of the original series from the 1960s. Like, this is the goofiest and the grandest of science fiction in my mind. The deck here has a card for each episode, because there are 79 original episodes. One of them's a 2-parter. Ergo, you get 78, which is kind of fun. So there's 78 stories. One was split into 2 episodes. So you get all of them. The good ones, the not good ones, the nutty ones, the groundbreaking ones. You get everything. And when I'm not feeling well, or when it's a dreary day and I want to chill, I usually watch Star Trek, or at least have it on while I'm doing other hobbies. So this is my rainy day deck. Star Trek, the original series, tarot. The next one is number 5, a deck for the harvest vibes. This one is new to me. In fact, I don't think I've shared it before, but it's not new to the tarot space, and I think is the only oracle on my list here. I do have one other non-tarot deck, but not an oracle. And this is the Seasons of the Witch Mabon Oracle. I am planning to modify this, but it currently has not been modified. And this is probably a pick for a lot of people on harvest season. So the autumn equinox. Oh, and as you can see, it's still in order, because truly I've only had it for a week. And it's in order. I put it back in order because I'm going to do a modification on it. But like, we've got campfires. We've got a lot of people cooking or herb crafting. We've got a lot of harvest foods. Cranberry harvest. Elderberries, for me, at least where I live, are ripe in June and July. So this one doesn't quite align. But you might have elderberries you have harvested earlier in the season, and you're making them into a bunch of things at this time of year. Foraging, definitely September is mushroom season. Harvest moon, harvest witch. Yeah, look at this one. Making pies. Making all the cozy things. I love it. Yeah. So for my Hearth and Home decks, this one fits the role of the harvest season. And once it's modified, I am really excited to start using it. Although September's a long ways away, so maybe I'll have to come up with some other creative ways to use it in the meantime. Prompt number 6, a deck that feels like a homespun gift. This is the other non-tarot deck in my list here, and that is the Rustic Roots Lanoma by Melissa Wotherspoon. And it feels homespun because of the art style and the imagery for each thing. So like it's like a dandelion in a pot. That's like a little gift, or a bucket maybe. That even looks like it could be a dandelion growing out of a coffee cup. For the dog card, we've got the author's little dog. These all look like paintings on cork or particle board or something. I don't know if they are, but they are. That's the design style. And it's the very limited color palette of reds, blacks, and whites. It feels very homemade, very cozy for sure. Cabin stories. Look at that homemade anchor. Cute little garter snake. Maple keys. Used box of matches. garden. The heart, it has the bleeding heart's flower. And for the ship, it's a canoe. So yeah, that's my homespun deck. I would love to have an actual homemade deck to put in this space for this prompt, but alas, I'm not that crafty. All right, prompt number 7, a deck to appreciate the good times. I have the Free Life Tarot. For me, this deck is very, it's not nice washed, but it's like romanticizing life. Oops, come here. So this person's, I think they're watching a soap opera or something from their computer. Playing in the leaves, singing noisy tunes in the bathroom, planning a trip, being just happy in a summer's evening with fireflies and a lake or a pond. Yucky rainy weather, inside eating delicious leftovers. Trying to clean up after your dog and then kick a bunch of leaves in your face. Jamming out on the piano with your dog. I had a dog that used to jam out on the piano like that with me. Reading in a cozy library or green space. Even just being out in the rain here. It's just, the lighting is a reminder to romanticize life. Not in a good vibes only kind of way. Look at this one. This again is one of my favorite tower cards. Made an amazing spread to eat, a feast, and the dog ruined it. At least they still have the casserole or whatever they are just bringing over to the table. And the coziest card of them all. All right. Last but not least, prompt number 8, comfy and cozy. A tarot deck that you can rely on, return to, enjoy. Now, I had a hard time choosing this one. My initial gut reaction was to go with the Gentle Tarot because that's my deck I always want to return to and is like comfy for me to read with. But I ended up choosing the Cozy Witch Tarot deck, which is a little bit of an on-the-nose title, but I really leaned into the comfy and cozy part of this prompt. Although this is not comfy to shuffle. I like the cardstock, it's just too big. This deck is comfy and cozy in its imagery, but it's also just a deck that's great to use when you're low energy. You want to read and you don't want to think too hard about it because it has a little message at the bottom. So you could just pull it out and not even ask a question and just take that message. Why make things more difficult than they need to be? Or if you do a reading with it, you can ignore the messages or they can inform your interpretations. Every card is comfy and cozy in some way. This is another deck that I really like the people in. yeah, the Cozy Witch Tarot. And that's all I have for you for Hearth and Home decks. Thank you to Dawn Michelle for making this tarot tag ages ago. I am delighted that I finally have time and space and decks to do this tag with. Thanks so much for watching and take care.